So you want to suck at the teat of the hive mind, eh? They'll definitely let you live. Yeah. Who would have thunk Nids would be such sneaky brother chuckers? Nah, me either. My name is Benji, and this is the guide to your first 25 power 500 points of Genestealer Cults. For the uninitiated, power is for your open and narrative play, when you want it chill, and points are the measuring stick for match play, for when you want some granularity and a more even playing field. To help you in this army building endeavour, we'll be crafting not one but two lists with differing themes, one of which at least should tickle your fancy if you've come this far. And whilst it was extremely tempting to bring some Astra Militarum, which believe it or not that would be a curveball too far, as such we're going with a more shooty army to take full advantage of the Crossfire special rule. That will see us marking targets and using positioning to our advantage. And secondly, because we can, we're going to lean into the more melee-centric units in the Codex and fully embrace the Tyrannid playstyle of carving shizzle up. Before the edutainment commences though, please do subscribe to the channel to engulf yourself inside the winner's circle and give that like button a good old tickle too. Grazie. Let's commence proceedings then with the I shoot, you die list. And although we're cramming this into a patrol detachment, we're going to use every nook and cranny of it. Our warlord of choice is a Primus, who is put simply a super buffer for core units, which we'll be sure to take full advantage of with the rest of the list. Giving rerolls to hit rolls of 1 to nearby core units, and giving the same for wound rolls to one unit during the command phase is out to be sniffed at. This will work very well in tandem with any underground concealment shenanigans you've got cooked up as well. The fact that he's competent in both melee and ranged combat is just cherry. We then move to a second HQ choice, which I have to say is quite rare for this breakpoint. An Acolyte Icon Ward though is just too cool for school, if you're bringing decent sized core units, which we may or may not be. Whilst these are a decent jot less well versed in combat than the Primus, they do synergise exceptionally well with those nearby core units in the command phase, allowing them to summon the cult, aka bring back dudes from the dead. These are a luxury inclusion at this breakpoint, but they'll be too effective as you grow your army to have any regrets about taking one now. Which brings us nicely to our troop choices of 2 units of 10 neophyte hybrids, which will be the most grateful recipients of the Icon Ward's juicy goodness. They make up the very rank and file of a cult army, and in isolation are quite limited, but what they do is bring bodies to the table, which can be exceptionally useful in these smaller points games. But also they have a range of optional weaponry for every 10 units you bring. Running the gamut from strength 4 to strength 9 options, this is definitely a unit you can tailor to your opponents, and this will be the obvious destination for any leftover points we've got at the end of this as well. Only one model will be found in the elite slots, that of a Nexus. Like a rug that really ties the room together, this little piggy is designed to let you go buck wild with your crossfire synergies. Not only allowing you to mark a target for crossfire without firing a shot to any unit on the battlefield, but it also lets you select a unit for your Primus, who incidentally needs to be nearby anywhere on the battlefield to benefit from both of your warlord's hit and wound rerolling abilities. Wowzers! It's a rare treat indeed to be so flexible with these types of auras and abilities. You know, that rug really did tie the room together, did it not? For our penultimate unit, we slide over to the fast attack choice of an Achilles Ridge Runner. Just the one, but one is enough to be super mobile, decently durable with 8 wounds, a 4-up save and a 6-up invuln against ranged attacks, and most importantly, at least to your offensive game plan, is loaded up with firepower that a heavy support unit would be proud to call their own. There isn't much you can't do with these bad boys at this battle size. Yes, they're not core, and their ballistic skill 4-up needs some attention, but now we're just nitpicking. Which leaves us with just the one unit of 4 Atalan Jackals to harass the backline and do the things that fast attack units do. They're not easy to hit, with enemy units suffering -1 to their hit rolls. They can fall back and still shoot and charge, and they can expose a nearby enemy unit to crossfire, enabling both the awesome things it brings to the bulk of your army. They've also got some reasonable loadout options to go out with a bang. Just don't expect them to last the duration. And that there is a slightly cheaty 26 power but only 453 points of shoot first, talk later cultists. Even at this small battle size, you've crammed a decent chunk of models in, and just as importantly, there's a great deal of complementary units contained therein. For those that remember, 26 is a bigger number than promised, and if you very much stick to 525 power, it's as easy as foregoing the Ridge Runner and adding a second unit of Jackals. And you shouldn't be too sad losing out on some Strength 9 goodness in these smaller games, so all's good. And then there was the Meat Eaters build, masters of melee combat and pretty bloody toothless outside of engagement range, but who gives a tuppenny? That's not what we're here for. Our singular HQ in this patrol detachment is a mighty patriarch, the source of all your world's problems, just about does it all. Well, it can't shoot, but that's splitting hairs, because what it can do is take its claws and shove very deep up and in ya. With 6 strength 5, 2 damage attacks, with bucket loads of AP and a weapon skill of 2, there will be a mess going up against any flesh and blood unit. But what we're really leaving out is that they're also a 2 psychic powers a turn, card carrying psyker, and all the goodness that comes with the brood mind discipline. Do you want to know more? And your HQ couldn't possibly be without 2 units of Acolyte hybrids to fill out the troop choices, representing the next generation of infiltration. These unsightly buggers are that little bit more elite and melee-centric than the neophytes we talked about earlier, but 1 in 5 can upgrade their auto pistol with a hand flamer, which might be a must, because its auto hitting synergizes so well with crossfire. But ultimately their strength lies in the fight phase, with a decent amount of attacks, albeit at strength 4, but re-rolling hit rolls against most targets. Does what it says on the tin. Continuing the trend of fuglies as we transition to our elite choices, and first up we have a unit of 5 aberrants that don't come particularly cheap, and that's for a reason. These are your monster and vehicle hunters. With strength 8, 3 damage, heavy power weapons and 3 up weapon skill, they're sure to make a dent or two wherever they may roam. As a sprinkle of versatility, the unit leader can bring his weapon down to strength 6, 2 damage, but that damage spills over, so much happy face against bigger, weaker units. With 3 wounds and a 5 up save, a concerted effort will take him down, but damage from successful wounds is reduced by 1 to somewhat mitigate this shortcoming. But they do have some friends to help him out. No, not the Abominant, we don't have room for that, but a Biophagus. A very kind and gentle soul that bestows upon nearby core, which includes the Acolytes or Aberrant units, the gift of genomic enhancement to very close by units, at the cost of an action in the shooting phase. For core units, this will be randomly generated as either an increase to a unit's melee AP by 1, exploding hits on a roll of a 6, and probably most usefully for the aberrants, a 5 up feel no pain. Thankfully then you can choose which one of these the aberrants get. All this, and he bites quite hard during a dust up as well, with his injector goad hitting on 3s and wounding on 2s, which if it wounds also gives you a chance to roll greater than said model's wound characteristic, and if you do, that's a one shot. Sneaky boy. Which leaves us saying goodbye to this list with a unit of 5 pure strain Genestealers, the most iconic of units in the Codex, and very much part of the main Tyranid hive fleet. These are all about swift movement, following by advancing and charging, with the desert of 4 strength, 4 AP, -3 attacks apiece, which is the only reason we mostly forgive them for only being 1 wound apiece. But their 4 up invuln at least keeps things consistent. So whilst they might be a signature unit, there's only so much I can rabbit on about them. And there goes your 25 power and 490 points of the Anti-Vegetarian League. You'll really need to make use of their mobility and the Codex's really quite awesome deployment and concealment rules, and you'll also need to make peace with losing units before you get to roll loads of dice. But if you make good use of all the supporting units and the options available to you in the psychic phase, then all will be good with the world. Which brings us to the cost, which isn't necessarily the prettiest thing, but you're still getting 20 something models in both lists, albeit slightly more in the shooty list, where you can also be helped if you pick up the Start Collecting Genestealer Cults box, and that will net you a free unit of 5 Acolyte models as well. Not only that, both builds need to pick up the Brood Coven box, which comes with a Patriarch, Primus and Magus. So to be fair, you're getting some future proof in. Even the bleeding Genestealers come with 8 in the box, so odds and sods is what you'll be left with. Well, it's certainly been a great deal of fun crafting these two different armies. I think any successful Cults player is going to do very well feeding off of what Crossfire brings to the table, so bear that in mind when choosing. But that aside, they're both going to provide you with a very capable platform for your first games with the Cult. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more Genestealer content. Alas, I have been the voice in your head, and this video has ended.